Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today I'm working on a project dealing with my Kearney Trecker Model H milling machine. I have recently got a low lead attachment for that machine, but unfortunately it was missing a few parts. So I've been in the process of rounding up some of the stuff that I need for that. I was missing some gears, some worm sets, and a drive shaft that connects the lead box to the actual dividing head so that I could do spiral gears, making spiral gears on my horizontal milling machine. So good news here. Number one, I have found a set of the 3 worm sets, which was really my biggest challenge in this whole project, because those are very special things. They would have been extremely difficult to actually make. In fact, I could not have made them myself. I do not have the equipment in my shop to make them myself. But I was very fortunate. I found a viewer who was out in Oregon, and when he saw the video, he said, you know what, I think I've got those parts sitting in my shop. And he went and checked, and as luck would have it, he bought some equipment. I think he told me it was on military surplus several years ago, and there was just a bunch of miscellaneous stuff in there, and in that set of stuff was the 3 worm gears that I needed, as well as most of the change gears that I needed for the whole setup over there. He had no idea what they went to. He would have never known what they were had he not seen my video. So he contacted me. We worked out a little trade. So I'm sending him something. He's sending me those parts. So that right there is a major, major, major win. It's really going to come a long way toward getting that piece of equipment back in running shape. So between the change gears that he had plus the change gears that I got from Ron Grundy, I think I'm missing, it was either 2 or 3 of the change gears. But between the 2 sets that I've got some extra gears, or they're larger gears, and I'm going to basically be able to take the larger gear and machine it down, and I'll have to recut the teeth in there to get the right pitch and everything like that, but I should be able to make the missing ones. I could have made them from scratch, but broaching out this spline in here would have been really difficult, but having a larger gear that I can just machine down is going to save me the trouble of having to do that. So I'm good on the gear. So the only other remaining thing that I really needed was this drive shaft to go between the lead attachment and the dividing head. That was missing, and through another friend of mine who has the same setup, he was kind enough, he took these parts off of his machine. He took some sketches, actually took some videos, sent them to me, and from that I was able to draw up the parts that I need, and we're going to be making them, and that's going to be what I'm working on today. What I'm working on right now is the actual drive shaft that's going to go in that low lead attachment. It goes through a little bearing block. I'm going to show you some drawings here of these parts. I'm having to make them from scratch. The connecting shafts, I think I've got everything that I need to be able to make those as well. So let me zoom you in here and kind of show you what we're going to be doing. So this is a picture of the low lead box that I got for my mill machine. Of course, I've got the dividing head, and the big thing I'm missing right now is this shaft that connects the 2 together, and also there's a little bearing support in here, as well as a shaft that's up inside the lead box here. And here comes Ginger. She wants to come say hello on camera. Say hello, Ginger. I can see this is going to be a challenge filming this morning. Let me zoom you back in here. So here's the parts breakout for that whole shaft and assembly that's there. And number one, we got just a splined bush in here. This fits up over this spline shaft, as well as fits up over to a matching spline shaft on the dividing head. And I have been able to find a couple of these spline bushings here. These came from Hub City. I appreciate everybody that commented and helped me locate these. But I got a bushing here. This one is a longer bushing, but the size of it really doesn't matter. It's made where that shaft slides in and out, and you can adjust the length. This one's a little bit shorter, but no big deal. Now, as far as this shaft goes, this is just that spline shaft. I could have made one, but the gentleman up in Oregon that I'm getting the gears from, he actually had this shaft, or a shaft. I don't know if it's this one, but it is that same spline pattern that he is sending me as well. So I should have that. Then we got another spline coupler here that will connect to this shaft. Here comes Ginger again, and this is the shaft we're going to make, so it's going to kind of come up on the end. So this shaft, I need to make this piece right here. This is a casting. It's just a bearing support. It's a support for this shaft that we need to make. I need to make both of these parts, and of course the gear is going to fit up on the end down here. So this shaft that fits up in there, it's called the spiral head drive shaft. This is a picture of it. It's a poor picture. I had a viewer sent me a video, and this is just a screen capture. I didn't have a really good picture of it. But based on what he sent me, I was able to actually draw this up in Fusion 360 and actually come up. There's just kind of a picture of it. Now I have splines cut on this end and this end. I don't have those drawn on there, but right now I need to just turn this shaft out. And these are the dimensions for it. So basically I was able to create a little blueprint from what he sent me. And today's project is going to be making this shaft right here. And after we get that done, I'll come back at a later step and we'll actually cut the splines in this. I'll have to do that over on the milling machine. Additionally, I needed that little support bearing that fits up into the head. This is a picture of it. It's a casting. It's machined on one side. It's got a through hole through it. Let's see, there's another shot of it. You can see some slots here that it fits up into. It's got some bronze bushings inside of that the shaft that we're going to make is going to ride on. I was also able to model this up in Fusion 360, and what I did was these are actually patterns that I drew up that I'm going to have cast, and I've actually got these drawn up. There's a cope and a drag, the two halves that'll go into the sand mold that we're going to send to Clark over at Windy Hill Foundry, and he will cast these. And right now I've got these two parts are actually on my 3D printer right now being printed out that we'll make a pattern from, and we'll send over to Clark to get done. And Ginger wants to get back in the shot again. She likes to be on camera. She's a movie star, right? Okay. Hello, Ginger. So that kind of brings you up to speed where we're at. Again, today's project, we're going to be turning this out over on the lathe. I've got a piece of stock here we're going to make it from. I got my drawing here that we should be able to make it from. And again, we'll come in and spline this in a later step on both ends. These were just 1-inch journals that will run on those bronze bushings up in that casting. The gear will fit up on this end, go up against this shoulder. This whole assembly slides up into that support that we're going to be casting and machining later on. Like I said, there's a spline on this end, and then there's another bushing that slides up over this. It's just a simple ring that slides up over this, and a tapered pin goes through that, and that captures that in that bearing block that we're going to be making, and then all that whole piece mounts up into the lead attachment. Let's go over to the lathe and see if we can knock this part out. So I got a piece of stock here in the lathe, and we're going to start by just facing this end off and putting a center in this end. Just give it a good face here. And we'll come in here with a center drill and just put a nice center in there. That'll give us some support while we're turning the rest of that. And I'm going to swap this drill bit out for a center now. I'm going to extend this part out. We need to turn on this side about a little less than 5 inches, so that's plenty of stock coming out there. I'll tighten that up. And we'll run our live center up in there for our support. Lock it all down. And let's just let that cut off. Length is not super critical here, but that should be pretty close. And we got about 15 thou to come off, or 25 thou left to come off. Let me get a micrometer. I want to get a real good measurement on this. About 30 thou over. About 30 or 28 thou over. Measure that again. I thought I saw a chip come out. All right, we got a little bit of taper in this, but nothing we can't work with. I'm going to dial in 20 thou, and then we'll go from there. So we got about 4.5 thou on that side, and about the same on that side. It's turning true now, so 4.5 thou. I actually want to be just a shade under 1 inch because it's going to fit up into a 1 inch bushing, so I'm just going to dial in 5 thou. And take that one more pass, and hopefully we'll be right where we need to be. All right, so we're about 1 thou under, and about 1 thou under, so I think that's going to be perfect. That'll give us a little bit of room in those bushings to just to have a little bit of room in there for it to turn. Let's see, we're going to put this in here. We're going to break those edges. I'm going to put a fairly steep one on the front end here. That's where that spline's going to go on. And I just want to break this corner up here. Should be plenty. So if you look at my drawing, we're basically doing this long side right here. There's just a little bit of relief in the middle. So there's a bronze bushing here and a bronze bushing here that supports this shaft. In the center it's not supported, but it's turned down a little bit just for some clearance, and also that gives a place when we oil it, the oil will actually collect in this area and kind of weep out in either direction. So the original was 0.96. Really, that measurement is not that critical, but we need to go ahead and figure out where it needs to start and stop and put something in there, give a little relief. I'm just going to put some marks on here. We're going to start it there. And based on the sample that I have, that relief is about that long. And again, this is not critical measurements. This is just some clearance in there. No big deal at all. And really, it doesn't matter how deep it is. It just needs to be about 10 thousandths deeper. And we'll just use this tool here to kind of go in there. We'll just kind of come in there. I'm just going to kind of come right in on that mark. We're touched off, and I'm just going to go about 15 thou deep, and we'll let it come across. And we'll stop over here, roughly on that line there. All right, I think we have this end of the shaft pretty well finished. Of course, we'll have to put the splines in later. Before we do, though, I am going to just hit these journal ends with some emery cloth and just kind of polish them a little bit. it'll just make it turn better or in that on those bearings. So I just got some fine emery cloth here. There we go. All right, we need to cut this thing off and flip it over. Just got a parting tool in here. Turn my part around 180 degrees. And again, we'll start out by facing this back side. All right, I'm gonna put a center in it again. I really don't need a center for turning it here on the lathe, but when I get over to the dividing head to cut the splines, I will want to have some added support out there on the end. So I'm going to go ahead and put that center in now. Let's see, a little bit deeper than that. So we'll leave a little shoulder in here. That's for that gear to just kind of fit up onto. Again, this end will be splined. There'll be a screw on the end. I just put a mark there. We'll go ahead and get this rough down to about a little over 1 inch, and then I'll get the thickness of that shoulder right. So just touch off. We'll just take 100 thou here. Go here and barely touch off. I'm just going to kind of get that little burr out of there. All right, we are about 20 thou over our thickness there. This needs to be 190 thou. We're at 225 or 250 right now, so I got 60 thou to come off that shoulder. So what I'll do is I'm just going to come in till I'm just barely touching. All right, I'm gonna get another measurement there because I did cut a little bit. All right, so we need about 35 thou. I've got a dial indicator over here on the carriage that I can measure that with, so I'm just going to zero this out and move my carriage in 35 thou, and we'll just go straight down. Let me cut back into it there. Get a good clean cut on that. See where we are on this diameter. I got 17 thou to come off of it. Need about 3 more thou. should do it. All right, we're good right there. My camera shut off. I'm not sure where I lost it at, so just catching you up here. We got this turned down to 1/2 inch. I got my shoulder to 450 thou right there. That's for that gear to slide up on. Here's the gear that will slide up on there, so it's just a little bit narrower than this piece here. And we'll screw a nut and a washer up here, just kind of tighten it up. Of course, this will be spline. And right now, all I'm doing is just deburring here. I'm not going to be able to reach into that one. I'm just going to hit that corner and tell you what, well, I'll go ahead and thread this and I'll slide that out and break that corner over there. All right, I think we're ready to go. I'm going to start with a scratch pass here. Check our thread pitch. We're on 13 threads per inch. It's always a little nerve-wracking threading up on a shoulder like that, but we'll get it done. All right, here we go. Let's check this fit here. Look at there. Perfect fit. We're going to call that good. I'm going to slide this out, and I just want to break that corner up there on the top. I couldn't quite get in there with my tools, so a little bit. Let me put my... And we'll come in here now. Just barely touch that corner, break that edge. And guys, I think we got this part made. Well, there we go, from a drawing to a part. All done over on the manual lathe. No CNC here, guys. Like I said, we still need to cut the splines. I'm going to set that up over on the horizontal milling machine using the dividing head. I'm not where I can do that job today because I got something else set up over there right now, but we'll be coming back very soon cutting those parts in, and we'll do a video on that and show you cutting those splines. It's going to be a little bit of an interesting spline setup. It's actually going to have to be done in 2 different operations, and I'll go into more in that later on over there, but we'll get that done, and hopefully we'll be ready for whenever we get our castings back. And once we get our castings back on the other part, the housing that holds this, we should be able to get that thing set up and hopefully test it out cutting some spiral gears. Hopefully by then I'll have all my gears shipped in. So there you go. Quick update on the lead attachment for the horizontal milling machine and making a few parts. Well, there we go. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of turning over there on the manual lathe. And with that, we will get this thing splined here as soon as I can get over there on the milling machine set up to do that. Like I said, we'll shoot a video on that as well. And in the meantime, I've got my parts over here for the support bracket on the 3D printer. As soon as those come off, I'll send those to Clark Easterling at Windy Hill Foundry, and hopefully here in a week or 2, I'll get a casting back that we can make this part. Once I get that back in, we can get it all put back together, and keeping our fingers crossed. Maybe cutting some spiral gears or helical gears here pretty soon will be a possibility. Sure hope so. There you go, guys. That'll be a wrap. As always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and comments are appreciated, as are those thumbs up. Guys, we'll talk to you on the next video. As always, thanks for watching.